Hey, welcome to our class of Tuesday Night Beer School with me, Chad of Chad's Beer Reviews, and special guest, Peter, the master of hoppets. What's going on, man?
How are you doing?
Good. It's you and I have done a lot of collabs over the last, I don't know, 10, 15 years or whatever.
Yeah,
Um,
even comic books.
yeah. I was just oh wow, I forgot about that. Yeah, why the last man? Anyway, so this is Tuesday Night Beer School, and we are going over the classic smoked beer style. Let's see. Intended for smoked versions of classic style beer, except that the classic style beer has smoke in it, blah, blah, blah. So basically, according to BJCP, there's basically three types of smoked beers. Is the actual Rauchbier or Rockbier, which can only be a smoked Marzen, and then you have 32A, which is classic style smoked beer, which is basically any other classic style with smoke, and then there's a 32B, which is any crazy style, like when you're adding chocolate, fruits, spices, herb, vegetables, things like
But with
that. Like
smoke.
like maple syrup, things like that. So, but if it's just a classic style with a little bit of smoke malt in it, it goes under this style. So, overall impression, a well-balanced fusion of the malt and hops of the base beer style with a pleasant and agreeable smoke character. Let's see. So comments, I basically just went over that. History, you can pause and read if you want. Character ingredients. Different materials to smoke malt result in unique flavor and aroma characteristics, beechwood or other hardwood. Smoke malts may be used reminiscent of certain smoked foods. For example, hickory with ribs, maple with bacon or sausage, alder with salmon. Evergreen wood should never be used. That's interesting. Noticeable peat smoke malt is universally undesirable. Commercial examples, well, the one we're reviewing is this one right here. The Aecht Schlenkerla. Actually, I'm sure I'm
Do you want me to pronounce it? I speak
yeah.
German. So
Schlenkerla. Is it Rauchbier or Rockbier?
it is Rauchbier. Rauchbier. That's how you say it.
Yeah, because whenever I hear
Rauchbier.
Americans pronounce this, they either say Roush or Rock. And I remember
Yeah.
when I was a kid and when I was in high school, my I think like ninth grade earth science teacher, her name was Mrs. Roush. So
Ah,
that's
say
that's how I
Rausch.
just
Yeah.
always remembered it. But
Yeah,
anyway, we both have
it's
go ahead.
Aecht Schlenkerla Rauchbier Urbock.
Okay.
And
Well,
Schlenkerla is pretty interesting because it to schlenker is a word in Franconia used for someone who's had a little too much beer. So he's walking a bit funny. And there's a funny story about the brewery how it got that name. And the whole "ella" ending is a local dialect in Bamberg and the area.
all right, we are back. We've got our beers poured. I got my new Chad's Beer Reviews little Nonic glass here. What kind of glass you using? Oh, he's got the official mug.
Yes.
Mhm.
But the clear one so you can see the beer.
Yep. And off camera, we were just trying to decide like how old my bottle is, and I think it's like at least a year old, but we'll figure it out later. All right. So, as always, when we're judging beer, we go the aroma first. Let's give this thing a whiff.
This is a smack in the face of smoke.
Real,
I
yeah,
think this is the most powerful smoked like Schlenkerla product, at least the aromatics. It's massive on smoked malt, but there's also layers, I think, of other complexity.
yeah.
Um,
Mine is like obviously the first thing I smell is smoke. It has like a little bit, maybe because this bottle's a little old, but has like a little bit of like a burnt rubber kind of thing, but like it's like really, minute. Most people probably wouldn't pick up on it. I
this
kind of
almost has like a little bit of a sweetness that I associate with root beer. I don't know why. It's a first for me. It's like a spicy thing,
like a
but
vanilla.
this is a no. I don't know. It's just a little bit. It's not vanilla. I don't. What is his sarsaparilla or something? The root
Oh
puts in
yeah,
there and
maybe
makes it
yeah.
taste unique. I think that could be it, but
Definitely not wintergreen.
otherwise, no. But like again, this is a fresher bottle, so I don't know how the difference is. Also, with the smokiness, it'll be interesting in the taste because that has a tendency to fade a little bit with age, and then
Yeah,
sometimes come back. But it's big, like meaty smoke. Like
yeah,
people talk about the bacon beer when they talk about
yeah,
Rauchbier, and you get that here, of course.
yeah.
But I'm also getting the layers of like some kind of rich toffee, and there's different like toasted nuttiness, and like it smells
I
really
get
rich.
I get like kind of like the essence or impression of chocolate, but it's not like chocolate per se. It's like
More like chocolate malt. It actually maybe smells, now
yeah,
that you say it, a little bit like carafa from Weiermann, which
yeah.
is a
Or
dehusked chocolate malt.
to me, it kind of smells almost like a brown ale. Like usually the box like they're just like so bready, especially like a
Yeah,
dunkelbock. Maybe a little bit of like pumpernickel bread. Do
yeah,
you get that?
for sure. Hefty pumpernickel bread, freshly baked pumpernickel bread.
Mm,
There's even like a little bit of a spicy hop character underneath everything, but it's like predominantly like heavy malt,
yeah.
rich beer
It
on the
must just be
aroma.
the difference between a fresh and an old bottle, but let's see what the specs say for that. So, a pleasant balance between the expected aroma of the base beer and smoked malt. The smoke character ranges from low to assertive and may show varietal wood smoke character. I definitely pick up on beechwood on this one, yeah, for sure. The balance
Yeah.
between the smoke and beer can vary. They do not need to be equal in intensity. I would say to me the smoke overrides the base brew. Are you getting would you say that for yours too?
Yeah, and I think
Mhm.
that's like at least in the Urbock, it's a classic
Yeah.
Urbock because Urbock, again, as I said in the
Yeah.
beginning, it's like it's one of the most heavily smoked Schlenkerla beers. So
Yeah. Says the resulting mix should be appealing. I agree with that. Sharp, phenolic, harsh, rubbery, or burnt smoke derived aromatics are inappropriate. I mean, I tend to get like a tiny little bit of it. It's not off-putting at all. So, score for aroma is on a 1 to 12 scale. To me, this isn't again, we're always judging the bottle we have in front of us. So, to me, this particular bottle is like really good. It's not great. I'm gonna say 10 out of 12 for that. What do you think?
mine is a 12.
12?
That
Full on
it
12?
smells outstanding. This is what I love about this beer, and like I'm excited smelling it, and I really want to try it.
Yeah. For appearance, I don't know how yours is. It looks black or brown on camera. It's actually like a deep ruby red. I did get a big, I don't know what you call it, like a tan or khaki frothy foam. It's
Yeah,
hanging
it's
around.
the color is really deep and dark. It's
Yeah.
almost like a little bit like a doppelbock. Like
Yeah.
it's so dark brown, as you said, ruby red. Not like light doesn't really penetrate the beer, so it's darker than a lot of
They always
other.
do this at homebrew competitions so that you can kind of get an idea. Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
deep brown. And you can see my glass has these nucleation points on it. You can see the bubbles.
yeah,
By the way, these glasses are for sale. I'll put a link in the description below. So, yeah, I would say it's definitely a good looking beer. Like no matter what style this is, like it's really good looking. So let's check the specs on appearance. And I need a producer. I can't do this all by myself. Variable. The appearance should reflect the base beer style, though the color is often a bit darker than expected for the plain base style. I would agree with that. Um, I mean, it's probably a little bit darker than a typical Dunkles Bock,
yeah.
but it's really good looking in the glass there. I'm gonna give that the full 3 out of 3. What do you think?
Me too.
3?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, now's the best part. We finally get to dig in here. Cheers, or sorry, I can't.
Cheers.
I need to say school.
Skål.
School. Yeah. Hmm.
Massive mouthfeel for a beer on 6.2%. Wow.
Yeah. Well,
6.5, 6.5.
even though like it kind of tastes the opposite of how it smells. Because like when I was smelling, I'm like the smoke is like the at the tip top, and the base is kind of obscured. But when I tasted it, it's the other way around. Like I get Bach like immediately, and then it just kind of finishes like with this almost as if there's like a smoked chocolate kind of aftertaste, or
I
smoked like
am
maybe a little coffee.
pretty sure that there is some kind of roasted malt in this. I'm thinking Carafa
Mhm.
from Carafa Special, the dehusked chocolate malt from Weiermann. I've brewed so much beer with that. And it
Mhm.
just reminds me of that character a lot.
Yeah.
And I know they use some malts for getting um, the color the same in each batch of beer, at least with the Marzens. So the Marzen is 100% their own smoked kind of Munich style malt, but to get the color equal at the same time, because they will always have variables when they smoke the malt themselves, they use a touch of Carafa, or
Mhm.
they say roasted malt. to dye the color to get it the same.
I'm actually getting quite a lot of chocolate. It feels like every sip I take, a little bit more chocolate on it. And it's more like you were saying, like kind of like baker's chocolate or dark chocolate. I would not call this a sweet beer.
No, but it's really rich, and it also has some that rich pumpernickel bread, or in Denmark we call just our breads are rye breads, which
Mhm.
are they're similar to pumpernickel. They're sourdoughs that are sourdough breads with loads of rye and lots of kernels of different grains, and it's very similar to some of the darker ones of that, like this really insanely robust and spicy breadiness. And I think the spice could be some hops as well. So there's definitely some of that in play. I'm also getting lots of toffee and like toasted nuttiness and almost like a burnt chestnut or something like that, all
Yeah.
underneath the smoke.
Yeah, I
Like the
agree.
smoke on my bottle is really forward, and I
Mhm.
think that's because it's really fresh. But you can taste all the other things underneath.
Is it
But yeah,
is it a pleasant smoke? It doesn't taste like burnt rubber or
mhm.
sneakers or anything, you know?
No, it's classic beechwood smoke. It's that
Yeah.
like hammy smoke, charcuterie, bacony smoke.
Yeah, it
I
is a
think,
little bacony.
and
And
that's
actually, I would
definitely what
say
you get
that
a lot from beechwood.
I'm not sure about your bottle, but mine, the smoke is a little less intense in the flavor than, I was led to believe from the nose, but I will say, like, the whole presentation here, this is pretty delicious.
Yeah, it's one of those beers you kind of forget how good they are if you haven't had it in a long
I
time.
know.
It's a classic for a reason. I think the both the aroma and the flavor are pretty similar in this bottle.
Mhm.
It's like the smoke level is pretty much the same.
Yeah, and you were mentioning, like, a little bit of a spicy or rye character. I do get a tiny little bit, they probably use, like, noble hops in this, right? So you probably get, like, a little
Yeah,
bit of, like, a peppercorn or a rye. I w Do you get, like, any kind of, like, minty or wintergreen kinda thing, or
I could see a little bit of like a minty type spice and herbaceousness in the back end from
Mhm,
hops. Um, yeah, because it's definitely more hoppy than like I think this. I've had this quite fresh a few times, and I've also had it at the brewery or at
mhm.
their tavern, but like never really analyzing it unless it was on camera. But like really fresh, I definitely sensed much more hop character than
Yeah,
aged bottles, and there's definitely a distinct bitterness to it. Like it feels quite
yeah.
bitter. I actually think they are around 45 to 50 IBUs. They're really bitter for what they are, but I
Wow.
think it's to balance the smoke and sweetness. I think yeah, the Massen is 45 IBUs, which is like when you hear that, you're like 45 in a classic beer. It's like, yep.
Yeah. Alright, let's check the specs for flavor. Similar to the aroma with balance between the base beer and low to assertive smoke malt. It's fun, they use, like, such a range there, low to assertive. I would say I don't know if I'd go as far as say assertive, but definitely pretty strong here. Varietal woods can produce different smoke flavor profiles. Balance between smoke and beer can vary, but the resulting blend should be enjoyable. Smoke can add some additional dryness to the finish. Yeah, I think we both picked up on that. Harsh bitter, yeah, inappropriate. So I mean, I would definitely not say phenolic or sulfury, medicinal. No, I'm not getting any of that.
The only char I'm getting is like just like a slight roasted maltiness, as we talked about, like a
Yeah,
kind of chocolate
yeah, it's
vibe.
almost like a barrel char.
Yeah, a little
So
bit like a woodiness.
I will say that this tastes way better than I thought it was going to, especially considering I how old this bottle is or whatever. Um, Man, I'm really tempted to go the full 20 on this one. I think I'm gonna go 18. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm tempted to go 20 as well, but I'm gonna go 19. Just drop it down a little bit because I think I enjoyed it a little bit more at other times, especially down in the tavern. And I don't know if it's just the vibe sitting there.
Mhm.
uh, so yeah, just a notch lower.
How would you describe the mouthfeel in this one?
I
To me,
think it's
it's
quite rich. Like for it's impressive for 6.5% how much mouthfeel there is to this beer. It's like it's rich and mouth coating. I'd say borderline full, but
yeah,
then it's just balanced by like dryness of I think both smoke and hops. So it's a quite interesting mouthfeel because I think if you didn't have the smoke and the hops, it would maybe be a little bit too much because it also has some sweetness. But there's just like some of the hoppiness and the smokiness helps cut it because it is a
mhm,
quite rich beer, actually, for
yeah.
its ABV.
I would say, yeah, I would say this is at least medium to full, maybe straight up full. Like when I think full, I think
Yeah,
like Bourbon County or some imperial
it's
stouts.
actually not far off when you think Bourbon
Yeah,
County. Like Bourbon County also has a high carbonation, kind of like this.
yeah. This one has I don't, maybe it's this glass because of the nucleation point, but this one to me is like very creamy. Like it's almost like a sweet stout or a milk stout, like almost like as if it has lactose in it. Like is yours that creamy?
No, I think it feels a bit more like I definitely feel there's definitely a good amount of CO2 in this, so you can
Mhm.
feel that scrubbing away on the palate.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it feels nitro like, but it just feels like it almost
Mhm.
feels like as a stout, like in terms of the
Yeah, I agree.
mouthfeel. It's as rich as like some doppelbocks really,
Yeah.
um, which suits this. It makes it a bit quite unique, really.
Yeah. So yeah, I would say medium full body, probably about what do you think? Moderate, maybe yeah, moderate carbonation. I
Yeah,
would say it's very smooth. It's by the way, this is what's this 6.2, 6.5 ABV?
6.5. Yeah,
This has like a ton of flavor for only 6
yeah.
point five is
It's
like session strength by today's standards.
at least American standards.
Yeah. But I said the drinkability, just like the drinkability on this is like outstanding. So
Yeah, yeah.
let's check the
Like,
specs on mouthfeel. Varies with the base beer style, significant astringent. Yeah, so that's a nice thing about when you're judging these the specialty styles is they're basically hedonistic as far as how you want to score them. To me, I mean, but like ideally, you should have a bock right next to it because like a regular bock or dunkles bock, I think would be a
I
little bit
do.
lighter in body and it would be like a little bit more crisp.
So before I we shot this,
Uh-huh.
I wanted to compare.
Mhm.
So in Bamberg, there are two breweries only that produce authentic Rauchbier
Mhm.
with their own kiln, smoking their own malt. The other brewery is Brauerei Spezial,
Mm.
and
Yeah, let me put you on full
I was
screen.
staying at this brewery when I was in Bamberg last time because they also have a guest house, a hotel.
Mhm.
What is that called? Bed and breakfast type thing.
Right.
Uh, you can stay there. You can drink their beer there. They have food, awesome classic Franconian food. But they also make a buck for the season, and this is stronger. This is 6.7% and paler in color, and
Yeah.
much more like what I associate with a classic buck.
Mhm.
More dry, a little less smoke. Definitely less smoke now after drinking the Schlenkerla, but less smoke, less sweetness. Um, Yeah, really nice as well, but it feels more like what I think of when I think of dunkle bock, whereas this is like
Yeah.
it's its own thing almost.
So as far as like mouthfeel, I mean, they kind of let you judge hedonistically. I mean, I think like this is totally appropriate. I don't know. I mean, to me, it might be a little too creamy, but that might be for the glass. I'm gonna go 4 out of 5 on mouthfeel.
I
What do you
agree with
think?
that. Yeah, yeah, I
4?
agree. Like it could be almost like too much for the style, but
Leo
I
wants
think
to do it too.
it works amazingly well.
Yeah, dude. All right. Overall, I think I'm surprised, pleasantly surprised that this is as good as it is, considering it's probably sitting on the total wine shelf for like a year, maybe. But this is really, really, really good. I'm gonna say 9 overall. In fact, I could probably even give that a 10. What do you think?
I'm gonna go 10. Like
You're gonna
this
go
is
10?
a fresh bottle like this, marvelous. Love
Yeah.
it. World class beer in my mind.
Yeah. I mean, it's 48. I mean, I don't know if you've ever done BJCP judging, but usually, like, if you go 46 to 49, people are like, well, why not just give it a perfect 50? I mean,
Yeah.
this is just for fun. So, but I think the point is like this is a world class example of the classic smoke. Really, anything that this brewery does.
Yeah.
Like, what's your key takeaways from this class?
The key takeaway, it's really fun to judge on different parameters instead of just an
Mhm,
overall grade. I used to do this back in the day when rate beer was still a thing. Like rate beer was my rating thing before everything else.
mhm,
So yeah, like thinking of everything cohesively. Like I think we, as beer reviewers these days, we just kind of do it because we're used to it. But just thinking like, okay, what about the body for the style? What about the like all these things?
mhm.
And also thinking about the style. It's something I've been doing for a while now. Like back in the day, I would grade things low because I didn't like them, although they were good to style. And I don't think that's fair these days. Like becoming a bit more mature in the
Yeah.
beer world. So
Yeah.
that's
All
a
right.
takeaway, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, we've been going a while. I mean, my takeaway is that even as this beer sits on the shelf, especially for all the American viewers that are watching, this is probably sitting on the shelf at your beer store or, and it's kind of like something that you kind of like overlook. And like, this is like a great thing to just pick up once in a while. I couldn't drink smoked beer all the time, but well, thanks to Peter, the master of hoppets, for joining. And actually, this will probably air after because we're going to do a podcast, but that'll probably come up before this, but who knows? So Leo wants to say bye.
Bye, Leo.
All right. So thanks to Peter for joining us, and we will see you next week. Cheers.
Cheers.
Somebody brewed it. Chad just reviewed it. Thanks for watching Chad's Beer Reviews. Trust me, the next episode will be a lot better.